So this is the second part in the stress management program, and I just want to recap what we covered in the first part. So the first part was exploring stress and how that interacts with you. So thinking of stressful events, thinking of how stress affects you, and then moving forward and thinking how you'd like to be with regards to stress. So how you would like to be in a stressful situation, how you'd like to think, feel, and behave in a situation. And then also I asked you to look at writing down a list of things that can help you relax. So things that you may be able to do prior, during and after a sort of stressful event, or something you expect to be stressful. So we've mentioned a lot about stress, what it is for you, but what is a definition of stress? What do we mean by stress, other than what it feels for ourselves? So stress is a biological and physiological response to an experience or an encounter, and it's more a sense of how, if we feel threatened, and how we deal with that threat. So some stresses, there's a list of stresses that you may have personal, but there's a variety of stresses. Things like exams can be stress, someone passing away can be stressful, moving can be stressful, losing a job, getting a bad grade. There's a variety of things that can be stressful. But stress doesn't always have to be a bad thing. So there's both good and bad stress. So some good stress gives us sort of a burst of energy, and helps us overcome small things like daily challenges, helps motivate us to reach our goals. Stress has also been helpful in boosting memory, small amounts of stress, but stress can also help as an early warning sign for the fight, flight or freeze sort of response. That's the brain reacting and giving us an increase of epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, other sort of chemicals, and that will raise our heart rate. It can give us a little bit more focus, and it can also give us that urge to do things and to take care of ourselves. So that can be positive stress. Stress can help us, motivate us to reach our goals when it's managed correctly. So what do we mean by bad stress, which is the stress that we normally refer to when we're talking about stress? So when we have too much stress, this then can impinge on our lives, and if it's too much, it can have adverse effects on our body. So high blood pressure, we can have fatigue, depression, anxiety, heart disease. There's a multitude of other things that can happen if we have too much stress. So some of these sort of early warning signals, if you want, can be feeling sick, body aching, headaches, irritability, not being able to go to sleep, changing appetite, feeling anxious or angry a lot of the time or frustrated. These is not an exhaustive list, this is just an example of a variety of things. So an exercise now would be to try and list some of the things that cause you stress in life. So for the first session, it was thinking about stress in general, but this is now getting more specific. So maybe list things that cause you stress, whether it be confrontation, work, relationships, exams. There's a variety of things. So just spend a moment and just write down a list of things that are stressful. And maybe you can do two sort of lists, one of good stresses and one of stresses that you don't feel are beneficial to you. So if you think about the sort of good stresses to start with, what tells you that they're good stresses? What's good about these stresses that help you? So is it stress that gets you out of bed in the morning, to get you to work, to pay the bills? Is that a good stress? Stress about not wanting to put on sort of weight, so it goes to the gym. Are those sort of good stresses? And then think about the bad stresses then. So what do they stop you from doing? And what tells you that they're bad stresses? All these are sort of questions that you can list down, things that it starts then increasing your awareness of what good and bad stress is in your life. So with regards to bad stresses, maybe you could write now a list of things that you do to cope. And if you don't cope with it, or you don't, then maybe put a question mark there. So if you go into work and you feel stressed but you haven't got a way of coping with that, maybe put a question mark there. Because what these exercises will do is start to get you to think more about stress and what it means for you, but also ways that you can develop coping mechanisms with this stress. And if you can't think of anything, what would you like to do to help you cope with stress? And when we say what we'd like to do, we can make that list as exhaustive as we want. We can write down as many different things as you want. After, you can edit them to maybe focus more in appropriate sort of methods that equate to those bad stresses. So that's the end of the session 2. Thank you for that. I hope you go on to section 3.